All right, let's talk about the top 10 items that every man needs. Now, it doesn't have to be a post-apocalyptic nightmare in order for a man to need these items. But if such a situation happens, let's say the enemy explodes an EMP and our whole electric grid is taken out. Some have estimated 90% of Americans would die in such a scenario, and it could happen. It's evidently quite vulnerable. So it's a terrible situation to even contemplate. May it never happen, but that's only one of many other situations where society could crumble. And if something like that happened, and every man's got to have certain basic fundamental items handy, okay, just as a matter of survival. So I'm just going to cover top 10. First off, the first thing I'd recommend every man needs to have is a rope. Just have a rope. Now, this is not necessarily a heavy duty rope right here, but it gets the job done for many things. If you need to lift some, if you're camping out, you need to raise some food up beyond the reach of the bears, you've got this handy. If you need it to suspend something or tie off something, you've got it. This is not really going to get the job done if you have to pull another vehicle out of the mud with your truck. So you probably will do well to not even use a rope. You probably want to have some cables, some heavy cables in the back of your truck, or a chain. Have those handy because this is more of a lightweight rope, but it's multi-purpose and recommended. Next thing I recommend is the Persuader. This is what I call the Persuader. It's a pry bar. It's a big one, and it's good for any time you have brute forces needed to get some job done. You've got this handy. It gives you the leverage that you need in order to get that job done. If you have to dig a hole in hard clay or rocky soil, hard packed soil, that's why they call it the Persuader. This will get the job done like it'll go through it like butter. So Persuader is very handy. You just never know when you might need something like that, and when you do, how great to have it. Now, does every man really need to have a old-fashioned Mexican sword? Probably not. Probably not. But if you do have it, there are times when it's handy. Let's say, for example, you've got a prowler in the backyard. Well, you don't necessarily want to go out there with a gun because then you don't want to shoot somebody. So you go out there and you give him a new nickname, Scarface. All right, very intimidating when you've got something like this coming at you. And again, the idea is non-lethal. All right, you just want to you don't want to leave yourself vulnerable if you're going out and confronting a prowler, and the police are unwilling to respond because let's say they've been declawed by the local town the town council. So every man's going to need a flashlight. You don't need me to explain that if there's no power or electricity, obviously this is going to be very useful, especially at night. All right. Having a quality knife. Now you might want a Rambo knife or something fine. I prefer to have this super high utility knife ready for any situation. It's waterproof. It's extremely durable. This can take endless abuse. And if you could see this closely, you could see it's very nicked up. It's already taken an incredible amount of abuse, and it's as good as brand new. It's also this beauty is I like this particular one because it's well weighted for knife throwing. I used to be an expert knife thrower, and very handy. You don't need to be a knife thrower. That's just a particular thing, but it is good to have this if you need to have some kind of knife. If you want to, let's say, whittle, a stick in order to cook a hot dog over the fire, or something like that. All kinds of survival situations, you're going to need a knife. If you're going to go fishing, you might want one with a spoon on the end, like this. Sort of like a fillet knife with a spoon on the end. Okay, so those are a few of the items you're going to need. One thing you're sure going to want, every man should have a chainsaw. This one here is, it's pretty heavy. It's a commercial, almost a commercial size. I mean, I've cut hundreds of cords of wood with this. It's an old Stihl chainsaw from the 1980s. It works now as well as if it was brand new. In fact, it works better than some of our new chainsaws. And this tree has had, I can't go into the whole story now, but this chainsaw is a beauty. It's had a tree land on it with a 5 foot thick base of a tree slam down on this chainsaw. And as you can see, it looks like it's in great condition. Obviously, um, obviously, I had to replace several key parts like the handle, the air filter cover, the bar, the chain. It had to be. It took some abuse for sure, but it was in a very wet area. So literally, that you're talking, I don't know how many thousands of pounds of tree came down on it and literally pounded it down into the earth because it was soft ground. So it literally buried it. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later, the thing works like a beauty. Still working like a beauty. Extremely durable. I don't know if the new ones, in fact, I can assure you the new ones aren't quite that good, but Stihl chainsaw is good. That one has a 24-inch blade, which is great for the bigger trees. You don't necessarily need that, but maybe a 20-inch blade would be sufficient. And obviously a gas-powered one, because if there's no power, it's not going to do you any good to try to plug in some chainsaw to cut branches. So yeah, that's super important to have those things. Every man should have a maul. I mean, if you're going to go cut some firewood, how are you going to split it? You got to have a maul or an axe. A maul is good because you can use this for big logs, cutting the big ones. After you've cut 20 or 30 cords of wood, by then, you're going to have your handle is going to be beat up enough to the point where you're going to need a new handle. So not only are you going to want an axe, but you're going to want at least maybe one or two extra handles, because eventually you'll need to replace the handle if you use it enough. Going to want a hatchet. This is like the ABCs of survival. Use this to make some kindling, hack down some branches, make a clearing, build a fire. This is like the fundamentals of survival. Is to have a hatchet. Very, very useful for all kinds of survival situations. You got to have a Bible. Without a Bible, you're just not prepared for survival. Okay, long-term survival. And it doesn't do you good to have a Bible unless you've read it word, line by line, cover to cover. This Bible, you could open literally any page, and you're going to see highlights all throughout, and notes and everything else throughout. Just any random page, you're going to see that kind of stuff. I've read it word for literally line by line, analyzing every line. I've been through it multiple times. So this is really the most important survival item there is in life. So is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, I mean, you might want, if you've got a Red Dawn situation where you've got some enemy in the tracking civilians down, it might be great to have some World War II style binoculars where you can see what's going on, or just for bird watching. I mean, if you've got a lot of time on your hands and you're in the wilderness, do some bird watching or something, or just know what's going on. But yeah, some high quality binoculars are great. And a gun is good. I won't go into detail. We could talk forever about guns. There's all kinds of different guns, but for self-defense, that could be useful. But nobody should ever go near a gun until they get some training. So there you go. Top 10 items for survival in 2023 and beyond. So I could list a lot more items, but those are just the fundamentals. Those are like the must-haves. By the way, getting a flashlight is great, but make sure you get some batteries. So, all right, there you go. And thanks for watching. Fight on.